Welcome back to Fighter Life TV. My name's Michael and I'm your host. So today we're going to talk about loyalty to your coach and the role of a head coach in an MMA or Jiu-Jitsu gym. So primarily focusing on MMA, let's discuss this a little bit. Do I have any issues with any of my guys cross-training? No, emphatically I do not. We open our gym to visitors, and I encourage any of our guys, especially on travel or things along those lines, to slide into a gym, get mat time, and get some work. No problem, no lack of loyalty, no conflict of interest. Why is loyalty important where your coach is concerned though? I want to look at this as a twofold aspect. So first of all, you pay your monthly fee or your gym membership. So it's a commodity. You should be free to come and go as you choose. And you are. However, I want to talk about the amount of input and activity that happens outside of that gym time and what your coach is doing for you, especially as an MMA fighter or competitor, that you may be unaware of. So the gym fee is often the fee, and the expectation is that that fee covers members of the gym for the hours of operation. It also assists with the overhead and things along those lines. But as a fighter, you actually require a lot more time and effort from your coach. He has to speak with promoters. He has to correlate all of your training, fight team camps. He has to arrange travel, quite often at his own expense. He will travel to these events to coach you. He's going to have some out-of-pocket expenses where his room and board is concerned possibly, or his food, gas money, things along those lines. What about the hours that he spends reviewing tape for your competitors, thinking about your strengths and weaknesses and what areas need to be built to assist you with an upcoming fight or event? A lot goes on in the background. Beyond that, if you've ever coached, there's a lot of emotion that is carried, and we become very close with our fighters. So that's kind of where the feeling of loyalty comes from, and why we really look to our guys to maintain a level of loyalty with us. Beyond that, emotion and that time spent, we also have an obligation, and I challenge coaches out there where this is concerned. We have an obligation to stay updated and up to speed on what is going on in the MMA world, training, the variables and the differences of the game this year versus last year compared to 10 years ago. It's our obligation to you as a fighter to make sure that we're getting you the things that you need and to make sure that we're keeping ourselves up to speed to keep you at optimal performance levels. Now, as a head coach, I recommend having one head coach. And here's why. I'm not the best boxer in the world. I'm not the best wrestler in the world. I'm not the best jiu-jitsu player in the world. But I have a keen eye for my fighters and what they need. Accordingly, as the head coach, it's my job to make sure that the individual components of your training all merge together well. If your boxing does not line up with your wrestling, if your wrestling does not line up with your jiu-jitsu strategy, all these pieces must come together seamlessly. And that's why you have to put trust in your coach. If you don't, then maybe you're in the wrong gym. What do I mean by bringing it all together? We handpicked the jiu-jitsu coaches, we handpicked the wrestling coaches, we handpicked the striking coaches for each individual camp based on our fighters' strengths and weaknesses, the game plan that's being developed against the opponent if we have any tape or knowledge, and it's optimal that as the head coach, the other coaches know me and my style of coaching, and that I know them and their skills. Just because you're a great wrestling coach doesn't necessarily mean that you understand how the pieces and components merge where MMA is concerned. Just because you're a great boxing coach doesn't mean that you're going to have a style of training or a clear communication with the head coach to make sure that we can address clinches, takedowns, kick range, and the other things that that sport specifically may not have. So, objectively, I recommend cross-training whenever you travel, being honest and upfront with your coach about where you go, and reciprocally, coaches, I encourage you to be honest with your students, to keep yourself, your data, and your information up to speed, and to make sure that if you have a weakness, that you supply the necessary coaching to your fighters to offset that. It's your job to be putting in the extra hours off the mats to make sure that the strategy is strong, reviewing that tape, making sure that you have the right coaching staff brought in for these fight camps, and helping to merge everything together. Now, if you're an upcoming fighter and you don't know what all is going on in the background, we've got nutrition, we have the weight cut, we have strength and conditioning, we have striking, we have wrestling, we have grappling coaches. In addition, we may have a statistician or someone who actually reviews footage for us that is minded to be able to pick these things apart and produce to us like good, accurate data of percentages and things along those lines. So a lot goes on in the background. My biggest thing is this: understand, loyalty is a two-way street. Training with somebody else, going and visiting a buddy at a different gym, training while you travel, to me, I think it is moronic if you consider that to be some kind of lack of loyalty. Also, I don't believe in the do as I say method. I believe that as coaches, we have a duty and obligation, not only to the sport that we love, but to the fighters that we look out for, to keep ourselves abreast of everything that's new, that's changing, whether it's biomechanics, sports science, the footlock game is real hot in jiu-jitsu right now. Whatever it is that's trending, if you will, we need to be on top of that. Whether we agree with it, disagree with it, think that it's a strength, or think that it's a fad, we still have to be aware of it. We still have to be in the present, no matter where we've been or what we've done in our past, because we are training the future, and we have to be there with them. As our bodies don't always hold up, we want to keep our minds sharp and strong. This is the dedication that we're giving to you. So fighters, we're expecting you to give this back to us as well. And this is where the breeding of loyalty comes into play. Now, what about loyalty to a team as a whole? Well, your coaching staff is a part of your team. Your training partners are a part of your team. Other members of your team have to see the plan that's being put together by your coaches, because they are the ones that are going to be putting the sweat equity on the mat with you to ensure that you have what you need. If you're with a team, ride with that team. If that team does not provide what you need, and you need to be objective in determining that, speak freely with your coach. Make sure that he knows what's going on. And if it's determined that you need to change teams for the betterment of yourself, that may be reasonable. If you're doing it for your own ego, or if you are a poor student, those are real things, who doesn't listen to the coach and then gets upset and likes to push blame on the coaching staff when they don't get the desired outcome, then that's something that I encourage you to check yourself on, because you're going to continue to have that problem no matter what team you're rolling with, right? But very important that there be a good, strong bond of loyalty between a team and each member, between a coach and his fighters, and very important to have one coach who is spearheading the whole effort, like I said earlier, to make sure those lanes are all merging between your striking, your wrestling, your submission game, to bring it together seamlessly on fight night. Give me your input down in the comments. Tell me what you're liking and what you're not about this channel and what I'm saying. Fighter Life TV, don't forget to subscribe. And again, like I said, drop us some comments, show some love. See you back soon. I'm Michael, and this was Fighters Life TV.